Welcome back, everyone. My name is Dennis Kim. I'm the concertmaster of your Pacific Symphony. And today I have the privilege of welcoming two of our orchestra musicians, two of my favorite people in the orchestra. They happen to be married, and it's going to be a fascinating hour. It's going to go real quick. So if you have questions, please ask in the Q&A or the chat. I'll try to get to as many as possible. But please help me welcome Cindy and Tony Ellis.
Hey.
It's great to have you guys. So you guys look like you're in the same house, but not in the same house. What's going on there?
We are in our respective practice rooms. So we're about 20 feet from each other.
Wow. So you haven't been fighting or anything? Everything's fine?
Yeah. So far, but you might want to check in at the end of the video.
Well, this is the secret to a happy marriage with two wind players. You have to have your own practice studio. So this is Flute Central here. Also doubles as a workout space for me right now during the quarantine. I just do a lot of workouts online and just roll back the rug and get out the yoga mat. And Tony is on the other side of the house, and it actually works well that we both can practice and not annoy each other.
No, it's awesome. And really, how does that work? You guys don't play the quietest instruments. I mean, even if you guys are muted, I mean, you play flute and trumpet. I mean, are your neighbors deaf? What's the situation there?
Well, there's a kind of a funny story. We were lucky enough to find a house that has a park on one side, a nature conservancy on the other side. And then so we only share one side of our property with the neighbor. And when we moved in, he was a great guy, but he was a retired metal shop teacher, and he was just about deaf. So we could not have found a more perfect situation for a trumpet and flute player. And I can say, knock on wood, that in the 28 years we've lived here, not one complaint about noise. Yeah. And also, Cindy likes to practice more in the evenings, and I'm much happier practicing mornings and afternoons.
Yes, we kind of have different shifts, you know. We did a test once where I was practicing. We had the windows open, and Tony took a walk, you know, like literally all the way down the block. So it's good to keep the windows shut. Thank goodness for double pane windows and different shifts.
So you guys are, what is your official title, both of you, just for our audience? So Cindy, you are?
I am Flute and Piccolo.
Flute and Piccolo. And Tony?
My official title is second trumpet.
Second trumpet. So if I'm not mistaken, it's a slightly supportive role when everyone's on stage. Tell us how your playing is different as a second player or as an assistant or as a supportive role. What do you need to do differently in that capacity?
Well, for myself, I think all of my musical decisions are based upon my principal trumpet's decisions. So however he decides to phrase or articulate, or what his volume levels are or style is, pretty much my role is to copy him and support him the best I can. So, and as you know, being a concert master, you make your musical decisions are a little bit different. So I have somebody that I try to follow the best that I can each time.
Wow. I mean, again, that's always the answer that a principal player is looking for. When I asked Jeannie once, I don't even remember what situation was, but she said something that actually gave me chills, and it was very touching. She said, "My only job is to make you look good," and I know for a fact that Barry feels that way about you. You guys make us feel really comfortable and give us the best chance to do the best we can in our position. And so we're very grateful. I mean, Barry to you, of course, and me to Paul or Jeannie. How about you, Cindy? Basically the same thing or a little different?
It's really different. So when you play in a flute section as a piccolo player, I'm the highest voice and the woodwind rows, if you will, and pretty much the whole orchestra. So it's a really interesting solo position, but I look at playing piccolo almost like adding a little sprinkle of spice on the top of everything. You have to be a real chameleon, and yet you also have to be able to be a soloist at the same time. And then at the same time, when you're playing third flute, because it's always third flute and piccolo, you have to be very aware of what the rest of the section is doing as a flutist. Each person uses a little less vibrato down the line, right? So, I'm kind of really listening to Sharon and Ben, so I've got two people to match. And then picking up the piccolo, then I'm kind of on my own and yet still matching. So it's a really interesting position to play. I also feel like I'm an honorary second violinist because I sit right by the second violins and we have a great relationship. I bring them earplugs if it's going to be a Shostakovich symphony, I'm like, here you guys, don't hate me later, but it's going to be loud. So I take good care of your second violinist.
No, but and this is a compliment, of course, but whenever you're playing piccolo, I don't notice you. So that's definitely a compliment. It's like, I'm not like, oh my God, my ears are burning, or what's going on? Why is that so loud? So I really appreciate, and of course that's part of your skill and your artistry, but to be part of the color, not, oh my God, the piccolo's playing. And
Exactly.
any great piccolo player, that's always, that's what I always feel. I don't notice you guys. And that's how I want it to be.
That's it. We should crown the sound at the top and just add that little bit of sparkle, but it should not be like, a laser beam. we aim not to do that.
That being said, you guys have also both played principal in the Pacific Symphony, and how is that different, and what's that dynamic like?
Well, you certainly have to switch gears, as you know, because then I have to make musical decisions based on conductor and other principals, and obviously the music that we're playing. And I'm actually proud to say that I enjoy doing that, and I think I've been pretty successful doing that, not only in the Pacific Symphony, but in the Long Beach Symphony and Pasadena Symphony. And I've been able to play some quite robust repertoire with those groups as well. So, but it's just your mindset has to change instantly because your job is completely different. It's like if you're in different occupations, one day you might be the engineer on a plane and one day you might be the pilot. So it just depends on, what you're doing. And it's quite exciting that the chances I get, I really enjoy and love doing it.
And I've been in concerts where you played principal, Cindy. How's that? What's that like?
It's a lot of fun. It is a totally different job, right? Because you're now all of a sudden reacting with the other principals in the woodwind section. And I pay much more attention to your bow when I'm sitting in that principal chair, because I'm trying to be aware of the bowings and what's going on and releases and all that kind of thing too. So it's a totally different mindset and a different way of playing the flute. For me, I get to play in a little more outgoing way and show my own personality rather than blending and balancing in the third flute chair. So it's always fun to have those moments. And of course, chamber music is a great love of mine. And I've been fortunate to play lots of duets with my husband during this quarantine. We're a built-in duo. And I've been able to play with my chamber trio with Jung Ah and David Chang during this quarantine. So we've been a little pod of musicians, and I love doing that. And I think those skills in chamber music help me when I step out into that principal role a great deal.
So you guys have a great clip that we prepared, and I can't imagine. I mean, of course, I want you to tell the story, but like to have a world famous composer write something for you guys. Anyways, tell us a little bit about what happened there.
Wow. Okay, I'll take this, Tony. And so Peter Boyer we're Facebook friends, and that's the coolest thing about Facebook, to be friends with living composers, I have to tell you, and colleagues across the nation, right? You can stay in touch with people. And so we were writing about things, and something came up about that Tony and I were playing. I think we messaged each other, and I said, yeah, there's not a lot of flute and trumpet duets out there. There's not. And Peter was like, okay. And then suddenly I get this text, check your inbox. And there it was. The most amazing piece was written just for us. And we were so happy to premiere it during this time.
No, it's awesome. And again, it's horrible that we're under lockdown and quarantine, but little magical moments like these would never happen, I think, without quarantine. So this is amazing. What an amazing story. And I think we have it lined up.
Hi, everybody.
It's Cindy Ellis, flute and piccolo with the Pacific Symphony Orchestra.
And I'm Tony Ellis. I play second trumpet for the Pacific Symphony.
We're here at the Summit House in beautiful Fullerton, California. We miss you so much. We hope you are staying safe, and we are longing to perform for you again at the Renee and Henry Segerstrom Concert Hall.
Our friend Peter Boyer has written us a wonderful duet for flute and trumpet.
So there's not a lot of repertory out there for flute and trumpet. Peter is a wonderful friend to us and to the Pacific Symphony, and he composed this duet for us just last week. So you're getting to hear a premiere. We hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching, everybody. We hope you're staying safe and patient. We miss you very much. We look forward to seeing you really soon. In the meantime, quarantine and chill. Bye.
That seems like it was yesterday, and that's been a year. Oh my
That's been a
goodness,
year.
it's incredible.
Crazy.
I have texts from people like, I heard that this might go into the summer. I heard that schools might be delayed, and you see these texts and they're so funny because it's been a full year. And I mean, first of all, bravo, it sounds amazing. And yeah, like you said, it's really amazing that we have people on Facebook and we know people like Peter Boyer who come to our concerts. I mean, this is a guy that I've seen at our concerts. And this is a gentleman who wrote this incredible piece that's been played all across the country, and he's getting a lot of recognition. He wrote for the inauguration, I think, this time.
Yeah,
So it's
Yes, he did.
lots of, and hopefully we'll have him on one of these mixers. But he's a great friend to the symphony, and obviously a friend to you. It's awesome when your name is on the music for Tony, and it's so great.
So cool.
No, it's what a fantastic little piece.
Isn't it great? Yeah, it was really fun. It was fun to do that. And it's weird to look back at that. It's like, oh, that was a long time ago.
And I have to say about that piece, what is so nice is that it was written for trumpet. And so much of the duets that Cindy and I do are two flute duets,
Sure.
clarinet and flute duet.
Right.
And so it was really nice.
Yeah, sorry, man. Sorry about that double flute thing. Well,
So we have so many things to talk about, but I want to first talk about both of your other profession, I guess, and that would be teaching. And I know both of you have extensive experience. And I don't, like I said, I don't want to steal your thunder. But Tony, I know you've retired recently. Please tell us a little bit about your career in that field.
Well, when I started teaching, mostly it was because I had a lot of time. The Pacific Symphony was very young, and the amount of services we were doing was not very many. And so I got my credential to teach secondary music in public school, and started at a middle school in the city of Monrovia, which is right next door to Pasadena. And thinking that I would just teach there a few years until things got going. And sure enough, it worked out that way until I realized that I loved teaching middle school students. And I don't know if it's an indictment on my character, because we know what middle school students can be like, but I loved it. And I loved almost every single day of teaching those guys for 33 years, the same school. I taught band, beginning band, string orchestra, and then eventually I even taught a little class piano as well. And it was just terrific. And I think the best thing about it is I brought, and people don't believe this, but I brought a lot of sides of my professional life into my teaching, which was easy to do with guest people coming in to coach and things like that. But I actually learned a lot about playing the trumpet from my kids and teaching them instruments from the very beginning that actually helped in my own development as a musician. I know that sounds a little wacky, but for me, it was absolutely true to be focusing on the basics of those instruments every day of my life almost, and incorporating that into my own playing was great.
No, I mean, first of all, thank you for your incredible service. Because all of us, you know, we have teachers in our public school system that helped us get to where we are.
Yeah.
I don't want to embarrass my daughter, but when my daughter Heather came here, her middle school band teacher was the one who actually, you know, kept her going to school. I mean, she loved this gentleman, Mr. Miller. If you're out there, Sierra Vista is a Grammy Award winner, and he's so patient and so loving, and is again the most amazing teacher that I've ever come across. And I can imagine you were that student for that teacher for so many of your students. So thank you, Tony. Cindy, I know you have a huge studio, and every time I see you teach, I feel so inadequate as a teacher because, you know, you're so caring, so thoughtful, so organized, and you care so much about your students. Tell us a little bit about your studio and what you do.
Sure. So I actually have been able to teach at all levels. Right when we first got married, I had a giant studio of flutists from beginner all the way through high school. And then I started working adjunct in the university at Cal State, Fullerton, and that blossomed into some classroom teaching. So I was teaching the music theory classes for majors as well as non-majors. I was doing music history classes for non-majors. I wrote a music business class, which is as far as I know, the only course that was written by an adjunct faculty member to make it onto the curriculum and is still there today.
Wow.
So I taught there for 25 years and also subbed up at the Pomona colleges. Had a 2-year stint as adjunct applied there. And I'm on applied at Saddleback College and Vanguard currently, in addition to having a home studio. I love teaching. I love trying to find that one thing that unlocks the student to help them do their best. And for everybody, it's different. But I'm just a real people person. So I think that's what I tried to do. And yeah, organization, yeah, it's just the way my little brain goes. I think it's part of who I am.
But you're so, I mean, when a student does well in a competition or does well on a test, I mean, you send them a note, send them a text, that kind of stuff is real, just care and love. And that's what's really appreciated by all your students and students' parents, for sure.
That's awesome. Thank you.
If I can add one thing, Dennis, I actually, during this period of time, we have made our living room basically into Cindy's teaching studio for the few students that come here to have their lessons. And I love sitting in the family room listening to her teach, because she's an inspiration. I mean, the way that she communicates with her students is really amazing. And even after all these years, I love listening to her teach.
You sure you guys been married 38 years? My God, what's going on? Take it easy. So Cindy, you just said you're a people person. That's not what I've heard. I've heard you're more of a dog person. I know you have, that's a whole different thing. And when I see your Facebook page, I think that you like dogs a lot more than people. Tell us about your two family members.
Well, actually 3. Three. We have 3 labs. Piper is 13. She is a rescue lab. She was a foster lab. We were her foster parents, and we kept her because she's so sweet. So we adopted her. I'm a volunteer for Southern California Labrador Retriever Rescue. I'm the microchip manager for the group, and we're a really active rescue. The head of our rescue is actually a retired ER physician, Andy Lesser, and he's just a blast. He came over at Thanksgiving visiting when we could do that a couple of years ago, real good friend. And then we have Tosca, our 10-year-old black lab, and she met Craig today. Actually, when we did the COVID test, when I saw you at the office, Tosca was in the car. She just got a vet appointment. And so Craig got to meet her. And then Summer is our 8-year-old lab, and she is a hoot. She is just a silly, goofy dog. So if you're counting, that's a dozen paws. Yes, 3 dogs, 4 paws. So they keep us busy. We walk them every day. They're just a great joy. A lot of work, but a great joy.
And I've been to your house a few times, and they basically own the living room. Is that right?
The family room. Yeah, the family room. We have the little doggy gate, and then that's where they hang out. They don't have whole house privileges, but they hang out there. And we all, they come down the bedroom and hang out with us, except Summer's snoring too much. So she may have earned a place in the family room all night long.
Phil Mortensen asks, it's a whole spiel, but I'll get to the last part. What's the most difficult piece each of you has played with the Pacific Symphony?
Okay, I'll go first because this is a no-brainer. As a piccolo player, Tchaikovsky Fourth is like the thing. It's the Mount Everest. It's challenging because of what you don't do. You sit there on stage for 2 movements, waiting patiently for the moment when you come in, and then you're in like a rocket, playing one of the hardest solos. Even if you were playing constantly, it would still be one of the hardest solos. So I think Tchaik 4 is probably a continual challenge for us all. And I think Shostakovich symphonies are also very challenging because you have the soft, sustained solos in addition to wild, loud technical things that need to, crown that orchestra sound. So those are the challenges for piccolo players.
And even in the very fortissimo, triple fortissimo Shostakovich stuff, your ears are never supposed to bleed when the piccolo plays, right?
Never.
No. Okay. Just to make sure, because I've had certain times where I've had to move my chair a little bit to the right because the piccolo is playing too loud. So thank you for not doing that. Tony, how about you?
That's a tough one because I'm not sure what the criteria. I can tell you from a physical standpoint, the hardest thing I've ever played, I think, is the John Adams Nixon in China, because it's written above the staff for trumpet. And I don't think we have any rest in the entire piece of music, however many minutes it's long. I just remember playing that piece and being like, I couldn't even talk for days after it. My muscles and my face were so tired after that piece. The short answer would be that, I guess. So.
Betsy Hawker asks, what made you want to become musicians? So we can go a little bit back into your history.
Tony, you start.
I can start with that because it'll go back to my teaching a little bit. When I was in middle school, I had a teacher. His name was Richard Elgis. And Richard Elgis was actually a big band trumpet player on the road in the summers, and then a teacher during the school year. And his love of trumpet playing and music in general inspired me to he would ask the class, like, what do you want to do for a living? And I just thought, if you could play trumpet for a living, that would be like the best job ever, because it's not work, it's just play. I mean, and I used to tell my kids, we talk about playing music. We don't work music, we play it. And that's always stuck with me. So like you said, middle school teacher, that was my inspiration as well.
How about you, Cindy?
Well, I remember distinctly as a little girl, like too little to play the flute, maybe 5. My parents were very musical and always would play the concerts on television for the Boston Symphony. And there was a flute solo of some kind going on, and I was smitten. And I remember going to get some cardboard, covering it with tinfoil, and sitting in front of the TV pretending to play the flute. That was like the moment when the instrument like sang to me. And I was kind of counting the days until I could be old enough to play, because in this country, we generally don't start flutists out until they're 9 or 10, right? 4th grade, 5th grade, around there. So I patiently developed some really bad piano skills because my parents said I need to play piano. So I did some of that, sang in church choirs, and was just waiting until I could start the flute. And that's how I started. And I just loved it so much. Got a piccolo for a Christmas present when I was in junior high, and I remember sitting on the floor. We had those heaters that come out of the floor, right? Those little vents on the floor, and it was really cold that day. And I sat by the vents playing the piccolo, and it was so easy for me. And I just thought, oh, well, I could do that too. So that's kind of my start.
If I could add a couple other things too, though, my dad loved Doc Severinsen and had several of his records, and so I was able to, even before then, listen to and I thought it was the most exciting sound I had ever heard. And then he had Herb Alpert records, so when I finally got a trumpet, I couldn't read music, but I could learn some of Herb Alpert's easier songs along with the recordings at the time. So that was a big inspiration too, as my dad.
No, it's awesome. I mean, Cindy, I think you're gonna love this. So I'm gonna say this on the air. Miss Ellis taught my daughters at Serrano Elementary through Class Act and inspired them to become symphony musicians. Now they play the cello and viola first chairs. Greetings from Edith and Louis Evans.
Oh, that's so sweet.
No, when we see messages like this, it's so important, and I mean that's why we teach and why we play, to try to impact other people's lives, and that's a great.
Oh, that's great. Well, and Class Act, like, it's amazing, right? Because you're teaching more of that general music style, right? You're playing for the kids, inspiring them, and teaching them about the composer, and it's a totally different thing. Right. And I've been involved with that program. I was one of the 3 pilot teachers. Myself, Andy Honey, and Mike Hoffman were the original 3 teachers, and we didn't know that it was going to be this wonderful thing that it had grown into, right? But what an opportunity to touch so many lives, and that means a lot. Thank you for sharing that.
No, it's great. I mean, your story kind of leads into one of these questions. Is piccolo playing much different than playing the flute?
You know, that's an awesome question. I have to laugh. My main piccolo mentor is Jan Gippo from the St. Louis Symphony. He's retired now from that position, but Tony's family's from Missouri, and I had met Jan, and then when we would go visit the family, I would take a small flight up to Jan Gippo's, stay in his parents' finished basement in St. Louis, and I would have day-long piccolo lessons, and this would go on a lot. And so he was a fantastic mentor, and he used to say, you don't choose the piccolo chooses you. Nice. And I think it is quite different in mindset and physicality. It's so much smaller. You know, we don't have little pygmy people with pygmy mouths to scale, right? I mean, it's definitely like you're the giants playing this little thing. So there's some compensatory things we do with our embouchure to make it all have the magic happen, you know? And it's also physically, like, finger-wise, you're so much closer together. So you have to kind of reset that, and it's a little different. I use earplugs, you know, in my right ear when I practice piccolo. I pretty much wear an earplug to protect myself from myself, because it's right there, and I don't really have any hearing damage in this ear, which is a testament to good hygiene, I guess, when you practice, right? You want to keep yourself healthy and fit. So yeah, it's a little different, but it's super fun. And I think every flutist should try the piccolo and become good at it. It gives you more opportunities.
And sorry to keep on, to stay on this topic, but are all good flutists good piccolo players and vice versa?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It is a bit of an unusual thing to be equally strong in both and have your creative voice in both. And I think it takes a lot of commitment. I mean, you know, here we are quarantined. I mean, I practiced piccolo a lot, you know, during this time, even though I wasn't playing in the orchestra. I'll go ahead and fess up. I had an etude book project, and I went through 14 etude books that I never played before. 14 books. During this time. That's like serious. That's a lot of notes, man. That's
serious. So Tony, I saw Cindy today at when we were getting tested, but the last time I saw you, we're in the same area, you were playing taps, and I got an email saying that, you know, you do this and out of respect for somebody, and there's, you know, you would never take pay for this. Tell us a little bit about the story about you and taps and the military and the service.
Well, let's see. My father was in World War II on an aircraft carrier that was sunk in the day before the Battle of Midway. and he, was rescued from the ocean. And anyways, that's one of my connections. But my middle name is Lyle, Lyle, and I had an Uncle Lyle who joined the Army when he was 18 and was sent to Korea as a parachutist in the 101st Army Division. And unfortunately, he was killed on his first jump and his first day in Korea. And because of my Uncle Lyle, when anybody asks me to play taps, I feel disrespectful being paid for playing. It's just my own personal feeling. So when I had the opportunity to play taps recently, Carl had asked me, I said, I would love to play taps, but I don't get paid for doing that, because out of respect for anybody in the military.
No, thank you, and thank your family. It's a wonderful, wonderful story. So you have another clip though. During quarantine, you guys were busy. We all tried to be busy and tried to keep connected with our audience. I know that the two of you definitely were active. What can you set up the next clip a little bit, Tony?
Which clip are we playing?
Oh, you're useless. Oh gosh. Cindy, set up your second clip.
All right, I got it. I got this, man. I got you, Tony. Okay,
I've heard that before, Dennis. Thanks.
So that leads me to my other question before we get to your clip.
Yes.
Is from Lauren. Do you get more nervous playing a trumpet solo before a large audience or hitting a 200-yard golf shot over water to a tight pin?
I get far more nervous around people that I know well when I'm playing golf than I do playing trumpet in front of audiences.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
As you know, the last time we went out, your group finished before us and we were right behind you. And it was a short 100-meter shot with one on the left, and I put it right in the middle. I heard you guys laughing from afar. You weren't laughing out loud, but I heard Gary laughing out loud, and it hurt my feelings. And like you said, I'm much more nervous, playing golf and playing violin, because I've been trained my whole life to play violin, where golf not so much. And
right.
and my golf game, so that I shouldn't be playing golf at all. But that's beside the point.
I'm sure sorry for any disrespect, but I blame Gary for that, because he encouraged all of us to do that. So
I'm totally kidding.
Him.
I'll get you next time. I'm totally kidding. Sorry to go off topic. Cindy, please set up our clip.
Sure. This is a duet by Bon Mortier, and it's actually originally a flute duet. And so my husband was game to play second flute to me.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I got you. And I think this might have been the very first, because we did a couple Bon Mortier duets, so I'm not sure which one this is going to be. It may have been one of the very first quarantine clips we did. So Alexi, take it away.
Hi, everybody. It's Cindy Ellis.
And Tony Ellis.
We're back, and we're going to play another duet for you, this time from a Baroque composer, Bon Mortier. Joseph Bodin de Boismortier was a French composer, and he was a very interesting man because he was extremely prolific. He wrote lots and lots of music, and true to Baroque tradition, although this piece was written for two flutes, we're going to change up the instrumentation to flute and trumpet because that works really well for us. And what is very interesting is he made lots of money from selling published versions of his music. Actually, that's how he made his major income, was from publications. So we hope you enjoy this duet. It comes in two movements. Actually, the affettuoso is the first movement and the gigue. Enjoy.
Tony, it's the most beautiful second flute playing I've ever heard. So sensitive, oh, your technique is tremendous.
That's very nice of you to say. And, for people that know out there, I used a cut mute in there trying to get something
Oh, it's beautiful.
you could balance. And that is always the challenge with playing with flute, so we don't overwhelm. But thank you so much. I mean, that was not easy to prepare. I will.
Oh, I can imagine. So Rosalind, one of our great supporters, has a question. Do you have to keep up daily flute practice to keep your chops in good order like trumpet players?
Yes. I think during this quarantine, I mean, I've only taken off a handful of days, like literally 5 or 6. I mean, I'm not one of these people that likes to just put it in the box and take a lot of time off, because it takes too much to get back up to that level. So it's not quite the same physicality that trumpet players have with their lips, to have to keep it going, right? But I'm kind of a practice beast. Yeah, I'm at it. I will say the ratio of piccolo practice to flute practice is 2/3 to 1/3. So if I spend like an hour and a half or 2 hours on flute, there'll be like 30 to 45 on pick. But that can shift if the repertoire is really demanding, then I might flip-flop that. But generally it's about 2/3, 1/3, because you've got to keep everything going. Yeah, great question, Rosalind.
Right. Betty Everett asks, Tony, can you please talk about your trumpet collection a little bit?
My trumpet collection.
I'm sure you're like many trumpet players who has more than one instrument. So
I'm afraid to say so. I do. Well, anyways, mostly I play Bach instruments, which are very standard for our industry. So I have, let's see, I have 3 trumpets in B flat. One I use for pops concerts because of the sound. One I use in classical. I have 4 trumpets in the key of C, which I'm a little embarrassed to say. But anyways, let's see. I've got an instrument. I've got 1 E flat trumpet, 1 D trumpet. I've got a piccolo trumpet, a flugelhorn, a cornet in B flat, a cornet in C, a rotary valve, a German rotary valve trumpet in B flat and C that are actually owned by the Pacific Symphony and were donated by John Daniels, a former board member. And let's see, and then besides that, the mouthpieces that I use, I am embarrassed to say at one time, I think I owned about 120 of those.
Yes, so many.
Yeah.
And this is a problem that all trumpet players have, right? You guys get addicted to just collecting and fine tuning.
Hoarding.
The benefit of all orchestral instruments, the trumpet is probably the most affordable instrument in the entire group.
Right.
Because of that, we can get a little crazy with buying things, but not so much. It's hard to buy, 2 or 3 Stradivarius violins, I understand. So.
No, yeah, and violins are one thing, but some of our members have $50,000 bows, so yeah, it's a little bit different than the trumpet. That being said, the flutes gold flute can cost you a pretty penny.
Oh yeah, my flute does cost more than my car,
Right.
So yeah, so I have, my gold flute is my primary. I have a backup silver flute with a platinum head joint. That's my backup, not a shabby backup. 2 piccolos, an alto flute, a bass flute, some recorders, hanging out. So
we have a question to both of you. So which do you warm up on, the flute or piccolo? And to Tony, what instrument do you prefer to warm up on?
I always warm up on a B flat trumpet because I had teachers instill in me that that's kind of your home base, and then you branch off from there. So I always spend the first half hour of each day warming up on the B flat trumpet.
Do you know that in Europe that the winds and strings get an A, and then the oboe plays a B flat for the brass?
I love that. Could you talk to Carl?
No, but it was the first time I heard it. It was shocking. They played an A and then a B. I was like, wait, what's with the B flat? What's going on? Is that really sharp? But no, it's amazing. And I guess sometimes it's really helpful. Every orchestra is a little bit different. Sometimes the strings tune first, sometimes the winds tune first. But yeah, in Europe, and again, I'm sure you guys know, but in France, the oboist actually stands up and plays, and it's like a whole show in itself. He'll stand and play and it's beautiful. And then, but he'll play the A and the B flat. He or she, of course. Cindy, do you warm up on the flute or piccolo, and why is the question?
Okay, usually flute, but a lot of times I'll just change it up and start on the piccolo, just because, especially because a lot of times as a piccolo player, you're sitting around waiting for that moment. You know, when we did our Pulcinella, for example, I had 2 golden measures in the whole piece, and I have to come in cold. So I practiced that. When I train for Tchaik 4, I'll often leave my piccolo right here on my computer desk on my little flute mat, and I'll vacuum the house and I'll come in and I'll play the solo, because I figure if I can do that, then sitting on stage when I'm really in the vibe is going to be okay. So yeah, so it depends on the day, but usually I do my flute routine first, and then, you know, piccolo, and then sandwich it back to flute at the end.
So we're back now, and for string players, it's been obviously a huge change playing with masks on and not having a stand partner. But how's it been for the winds and brass back there? Please tell us about your experiences in the last few weeks that we've been back, and of course, first of all, we're all grateful to be back, and we're grateful to be back on stage making music and have an opportunity to make music again. But that being said, you know, there's some challenges. What are some of the challenges for you guys back there?
Well, it's lonely. We miss you. It's very lonely. We feel like binoculars, you know, to see, because you're far away. It is, I think I miss the most is that sensory perception of the sound around me. Because we're isolated and we're relying on the earpieces a little bit more. Thank goodness the audio engineers are feeding us the hall sound, because that's helpful. But I think I miss that visceral feel of sitting right in the middle of the orchestra. I do miss it, but it's great to be back in this limited capacity, because this gives us great hope, all of us, for being back for real.
Yeah, I can say bravo to everybody involved in all of our protocol for playing, because I can't imagine a safer work environment than what we have. So that's terrific. You know, there are some challenges with winds and brass, because we do play in a 3-sided plexiglass area, but it's not bad per se. You certainly hear yourself really well. It can be a little difficult hearing people around you. And I can say from hearing a little bit of an audio clip of our upcoming virtual concert tomorrow night, which was just brass players, the sound came out really, really well. So bravo to all the sound guys.
No, it's I maybe this is a little bit too honest, but what I miss most about being back to normal is the breaks. You know, to talk to your colleagues and see what's going on, and give them a hug, and all this social stuff I've really missed. Right now we have 90 minutes, no break. You come in this way, you go out that way, you don't talk, you go to your car. And that's been difficult because, you know, we're a big family, and, you know, to talk and to hug and to complain to each other and gossip. I mean, that's what orchestra is. And so that's what I've missed a lot also. Of course, I miss having a stand partner. I miss, you know, hearing my stand partner breathe and feeling music together, and all that, of course, I miss. But yeah, the social aspect is something that I think we underestimate. Yeah. And I can't wait till we can get back and be closer and talk to each other, and without masks and all this fun stuff.
It's going to be great, and to welcome our audience back is going to be amazing.
Right. Of course.
I mean, I love that sound before concerts when the hall doors open, and then everybody starts talking and chit-chatting, and then you kind of get this whiff of the amalgam of perfume from everybody in a 3,000 seat hall. And I miss all that, you know, so much. And we can't wait to see you all back in the concert hall.
No, I totally lied. I miss that the most. You know, the audience I miss the most, because that's the weirdest part here. You go there, and we have some cameramen who are very nice gentlemen, by the way, but they're not the audience. They're not clapping. They don't have this big smile on their face. So no, the social part is one thing, but I miss the audience for sure, Cindy.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of every concert, is walking onto stage to get ready. And I would always look at the audience and look at the faces that I could see in the front in anticipation of what we're going to do. And for me, that was always the best part of the evening.
No, and I have some non-musician friends who actually said, when you guys warm up before the concert and then when you tune, that's my favorite part, because it's different every time. And in some ways, I mean, of course, I think he was half joking, but no, it's amazing, this excitement before the concert, and it's going to be soon, I hope. I think we can see the finish line.
Yes, yes, there is hope. It is pulsating all around us. I can feel it.
Indeed. So Isabella, 15, viola, has the question. I have a big competition in 2 weeks to place in the States Youth Orchestra. What would you recommend I do to prepare in the last days? I've been practicing since January. So I'm going to let our two guests answer that. I would tell you a viola joke, but you're 15, you probably will not appreciate it, so I'll keep to myself. Any wise words?
All right. Well, what I would say, I think since you've been playing since January, own your confidence and own your preparation. First of all, trust that you have done the work, because now it's time to enjoy the process of recording yourself. So I assume that it's not a live audition. I assume it's a recorded one. So make sure that you do lots of test runs with your camera on your phone. Don't use the front camera, use the back camera, right? Because I just judged a competition, and if you use the front camera, your flute's going to be on this side of the flute. And I've seen that. So you want to, use the right camera. And
the viola would be the same way. So play the viola the right way.
Yes, exactly. So do a lot of test runs, and if you take the pressure off yourself and do enough of those test runs, you'll catch yourself doing something fabulous, and then you can use that take.
Yeah, I like what Cindy does. Is even in my own performing, it's the 2 or 3 days leading up to it. And she's been practicing since January. You know what you're doing. You know how to play it. You know what you want to do. So take the pressure off yourself. Don't practice like a mad person, before trying to get every little detail. I learned from a great trumpet player, Irving Bush, who was a trumpet player in the LA Phil in the 60s and then became personal manager. But he said, if you don't know it 2 days before your performance, nothing's going to help you. So relax. You got it, and just do it.
No, I mean, that's excellent advice. I hope you've actually written that down or you record this. If I'm going to add something, if you practice an hour a day or 2 hours a day, please don't start practicing 7 hours a day 2 days before. You might injure yourself, first of all, and that doesn't help. And that also, it raises your blood pressure and all these bad things. So like our two guests have said, just keep on doing what you're doing. Trust that you're on the right path. Trust your teachers, right? If your teacher says you're doing well, you have to trust them. That's why you study with them, because you trust them. And I'm sure it'll be fine. If you've been practicing since January, I think that the last 2 weeks should be just a continuation of the hard work that you've put in. We have so many people saying hi. This is from Joellen Van Gruff. Hi, Cindy and Tony. It's been so nice to see you and hear you. What a great presentation. So, I mean, I know that's not a question, but it's so nice to hear from all of you. We have so many people watching live, and it's great that you guys are here. Thank you. But when I saw on the Thursday that there were so few people watching, I think there's not enough information. Every Thursday night at 7 now, we're going on our Facebook page and our website. So please join us. It's amazing what not only the musicians do, but the whole process has been an amazing project. So I hope a lot of you can see it actually, when it's live, because I think it's work that we're proud of, and we'll be doing this for the next couple weeks and months. So I hope you can all be a part of it. So there's a question very specific to you two about playing in these shells. Can you go into a little more detail about what that's like and how that's different than normal?
Okay. So one of the weirdest things that you wouldn't think about playing in this little plexiglass box is there's a reflection back. So it's very disconcerting to see yourself like sort of kind of like reflected there visually. And then you're getting a sound reflection, right? So when I first started warming up, I was like, whoa, that's really harsh. That's not what I sound like. Oh yeah, because it's coming right back at me. So I think there's a little bit of a play by feel, by instinct. Don't trust what you're hearing right here in your little plexiglass bubble. And then, boy, thank gosh, again, those sound engineers feeding you the hall sound, that's when you know that it sounds great. So I think that's the weirdest compensatory thing. And like you even alluded to with stand partners, you know, I mean, gosh, Dennis, you have to turn your own pages now. Like, that's crazy.
Can't believe it. Never was taught this in school. And
right.
This is... and the inside players should get paid definitely extra to turn pages, because that's
right? Yeah, and I miss the colleagues next door to me, like feeling their phrasing. Like, you can't
absolutely
do that. Yeah, that's so. Those are some challenges, but you know, because you know we are so well trained, any questions you have are kind of defaulted by the experience and the training that we have, and the fact that we have to trust what we're doing, because it's going to come out okay in the mix, literally in the sound mix. So it's a big kind of trust fall. What do you think, Tony? Is that kind of your impression?
Yeah, I think my biggest adjustment with the sound shields is that I have to play more from instinct, especially on volume, because everything sounds loud. It's like there's a turbocharger on my trumpet all of a sudden, and everything's just like loud. And so you have to play a little bit more by feel rather than by ear, so to speak. So that's been my biggest challenge.
No, we've been rehearsing a lot with timing. So not only are they in these boxes, but they're so far away. And in a normal situation, we try to be as close together as possible so that we can minimize the distance. But right now we're trying to get as far away as possible. And then these plexiglass little booths that they're in. So a lot of it has been about timing, about balance with volume. So yeah, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but everything that we were taught originally, it doesn't come into play anymore. We can't listen. We can't play together. It's got to be a lot of watching and just trusting, like you said, Cindy, because if you listen, you're going to be late. We had a lot of issues in the Stravinsky where the brass are late. I know they're not late. They're not playing late. It's just they're so far back, and they do have that 2-inch plexiglass, and that's what's making everything a little late. But no, it's been challenging. But that being said, I think they're doing their magic downstairs, upstairs, wherever they're doing it, and they're making a sound. Hopefully, it's giving the audience something of a feel of what it'll be like once we get back on stage.
Well, I feel like this is just the appetizer to what's going to come originally. We're going to get to the meal. We're going to get there. But for right now, just an amuse-bouche or an appetizer is all we get to provide as musicians.
Right. And we're lucky that we can, because some orchestras are not, they don't even get the appetizer. They're still waiting for the meal, and their meal is backed up, and they're going to be eating in September. And we are having something. And even though there's all these challenges, I think that all three of us are so grateful to be back on stage instead of resting at home and just waiting, because that was the most frustrating part earlier.
Yes, I think you're right. I mean, there's so much gratitude. I'm so happy just being able to go to work. It's amazing that we're back, and I know we'll be back more and more as safety conditions allow. And my gosh, what amazing work with UCI Public Health and our orchestra committee, the safety committee. Everybody's done a fabulous job. Management could not be working harder for us, and shout out to them too. Man, you guys are amazing. The board of directors, I'm the elected musician that sits on the board, and I get to hear them talk about how much they love us, and it warms my heart.
I actually randomly had lunch with a board member today, actually nothing to do with Pacific Symphony, but just their care and love of the whole organization. And every organization says family, but it's not true. I mean, it's just what people say. But here, I really feel that, they feel like we're part of the family. And when one part of the family is struggling, another part of the family steps up. And the board has been amazing. The management has been amazing. the players waiting patiently have been amazing. So we are all grateful, and we won't be able to have every musician in these mixers, but I'm positive that everyone has the same feeling of gratefulness and thankfulness and pride in our family during this very difficult time. And yeah, we just can't wait till everything's back to normal, because yeah, it's gonna be emotional, and like Rosalind says, it's gonna be amazing when we finally get back on stage with live audience. So finally, what are you expecting in the next couple months when COVID restrictions loosen a little bit? What's the first thing you're gonna do?
Hug my mother.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, my mom is 91 and she has dementia. And so we've had to be, she's fully vaccinated, so that's great. So yeah, that's really going to be a great thing. I think hugs are very important. So that's certainly important to me. And yeah.
Tony, other than hugging your mother-in-law, what are you going to do right after you're allowed?
I think what I've missed most is my colleagues. Luckily, I've been able to golf with a lot of my colleagues because we're outdoors and we're away from each other. So that has been a godsend for me. But I've missed my public school colleagues that we used to have lunches together and stuff. So that'll be one of the first things I do. And then the other thing I'm going to do is go to my favorite watering hole and order the best glass of scotch I can find on that menu.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I mean, I think everyone's just holding our breath. But recently on CNN they've been showing this food stuff in Italy, and I was like, I've been to Italy, but I gotta go back. Oh my gosh, it looks amazing, and can't wait to travel. I can't wait to see family in Canada or in Korea, and it's just everyone is just waiting. And that being said, I hope we just wait a little bit longer. I hope that we can all get vaccinated, and when it's fully healthy, that we can get back to normal life. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me and joining us. It's great. I mean, I can't believe it's been an hour already.
I know.
Thank you for doing what you do all the time for not only Pacific Symphony, but for all your students and everything. I can't wait to see you on stage and give you a big hug one day. But for now, I'll see you on stage, and behind the mask, I'll give you a big smile. But thank you so much for being with us. I'm actually not sure who was on next week, so I apologize. But please join us next week, next Wednesday at 5 o'clock. And please, everyone, Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. YouTube, our website. It's not too long, and we have different music. We have Strauss, we have Ravel, we have amazing things. So please join us. And I thank all of you, and please be healthy. And thank you so much, Cindy and Tony.
Thank
Tomorrow night is
you.
all
Bye,
brass,
everybody.
by the way. I'm just going to say, tomorrow night, all brass players.
All brass tomorrow night. Yeah, so that's going to be awesome. So please join us. Thank you so much.
Dennis.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
So fun. Bye, everybody.